For the next several minutes, we're going to talk about the joint planning process and the hybrid that we've created with the military decision-making process. We'll really just use the term JPP, joint planning process, as we go forward. We've talked about previously how the MELT course uses the three content areas of leadership, security cooperation, and academic program management. Now we're going to talk about the one tool we're going to use where you take information that you've learned or that you have from those three content areas and apply it into your initiative or your issue or your problem that you want to work while you're here at DLI. So let's get started. I want to just remind everybody that all of this is to support the vision, mission, and priorities of the MELT course. It is all about building our partnership so that we can solve tomorrow's challenges together. Next, let's transition to the essential questions. What are those essential questions? Why are we doing this hybrid JPP? What are the steps of the joint planning process? And what are the results of each of those steps? So let's first start out with why. These decision-making processes really provide an orderly and sequential set of logical steps to work through a problem so that you can understand the operational environment or the variables that are important that influence your organization and this initiative or issue you're working. We want you to understand the operational environment and be able to frame the problem. When we talk about framing the problem, other words we've used include defining the problem, framing the problem, and describing the problem. So we want you to be able to do that. We want you to be able to develop, analyze, and compare your possible solutions against each other and against criteria that you've established as important for making the ultimate determination of which course of action you'll select. We want you to be able to recommend a course of action and be able to justify why you're recommending it to whoever is listening to your briefing. And ultimately, it's about producing a plan that is detailed enough so when you return to your country, you can implement it systematically and be successful. How does the JPP fit in with the MELT course? Why are we doing it? Well, the JPP will inform the capstone project, and that is how you can participate in the continuing improvement process of your organization. So this project, it does represent the culmination of all of the analysis that you will do throughout the 7 steps of the JPP. There's a couple of milestones, a couple of key events that are important. You're going to give a mission analysis brief to your peers and to the class. You're going to give a course of action development brief. You're going to report on the analysis of one of the courses of action that you prepared, and you're going to present your findings, your plan, at an open house at DLI. Some of the enabling products that will allow you to compile your analysis, to bring order to your thought process, and to make it easy to process and understand by those who are receiving the information. We're going to ask you to do point papers, talking papers, position or decision papers. We're going to ask you to do memorandums. Staff studies is another type of document that does the same thing, and we're going to have you do these military briefings. All of these products are chosen to allow you to carefully work through the information of your analysis and feed it into the briefings to culminate with the capstone project. What is the JPP? How many steps are there, and what do those steps require you to receive and understand and process? And what does it result in? So there's 7 steps to the joint planning process, and we're going to talk about each one of those 7 steps. Not all of them will be fully relevant to us as we move along in the MELT course, but let's talk about the first one. Initiating planning. This is where you develop that thorough understanding of the strategic guidance you received, the direction you're going. It's for not only your organization as a whole, but as we get further along in the course, we need to understand, or you need to understand, what the guidance is as it relates to your initiative or problem that you want to solve. The initiating planning step also results in a good understanding and thus a description of the operational environment. The things that affect your organization or the problem. Stakeholders, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, what political, military, economic, social, information, or infrastructure issues are there that influence your organization or this project. So we'll be looking at a number of variables to help you understand your operational environment. We also want you to end this first phase with a good understanding of the current state. What is the current state of your language training program? And what is the current state of the issue or initiative that you want to study for your capstone project? And we want you to be able to articulate what your desired end state is for your project. After you've implemented your plan, what do you want the end state to be? That will help us define the problem. So the last part of this step is defining that problem. The second step of the joint planning process. It's about understanding your mission. Understanding the mission, a couple levels up, understanding your mission as it relates to your initiative or issue. This step also includes understanding the relevant facts. You will have to make some assumptions, but we'll talk about those in a later video. They have to be relevant to the planning effort, and they have to be made so planning can move forward. We will also look at tasks that are specified, that are specifically given to you, tasks that are implied, and from those, what tasks must you accomplish to be successful? And that's not only with your LTP in general, but in relationship to your initiative or the issue that you want to study. We will work through an initial mission statement that you would recommend to your commander if this was a traditional staff, but you will create it as a goal or a mission statement for use as we continue in the JPP. And then the last step of this is to develop the criteria that you will use to evaluate your courses of action. The third step in JPP, course of action development. You will develop valid courses of action, and valid means that they have met the screening criteria, and there's 5 of them. We'll talk about those later. You will analyze the operational elements from step 1 and step 2 that are relevant to developing these possible solutions. You will develop timelines. You will identify and mitigate risks. And you'll identify decision points. Key moments in time where those who have to make decisions need to get specific information so they can make the best decision, and from that decision you will continue with your planning efforts. One of the key outputs of this step is a course of action narrative, a description of your course of action, and a sketch or a conceptual drawing. The fourth step of the JPP is course of action analysis and wargaming. In the MELT course, we are not going to explore and analyze all of the courses of action you developed. We will select one of them, or you will select one of them, but you will do a very thorough analysis. And during this analysis, you will identify all the critical events. You will identify all the decision points and all the information that's required for a decision maker to make the decision. You'll identify what resources you need that you currently don't have. We will look at commander's critical information requirements, or essentially things that the commander needs to know to make the decisions. You will synchronize all of these actions, and you will develop an assessment plan. That assessment plan will essentially help you identify if what you are doing is correct and how well you are doing it. We will complete a war game with associated graphics and narrative. So the course of action development narrative and sketch, that's what it is, but it's updated based on the results from the analysis. And in the end, you should have all of the data you need to effectively compare the courses of action. You'll have the strengths, you'll have the weaknesses, you will have how many resources you use, you will have all of the information to inform the evaluation criteria that you created in step 2 mission analysis. The fifth step. Doctrinally, this fifth step is where you take the analysis from multiple courses of action and display those results. For our purposes, we won't be doing this because we will have already pre-selected one course of action to analyze. But just so you understand, the fifth step is about comparing the advantages and disadvantages, comparing evaluation criteria results, and determining which one is best. That's the science part of decision making. The sixth step is fundamentally briefing the results of your course of action analysis, of your course of action comparison to the decision maker, and the decision maker will approve your course of action, make any refinements. You will produce a refined or updated list of commander's critical information requirements, and you will update your assessment plan. Measures of effectiveness, or MOEs, are about whether you're doing the right things, and measures of performance, or MOPs, is about whether you are doing those things well. And the seventh step is developing the plan, completing the plan with all of the products, orders, published, maps, everything else that's needed for the organization to implement the plan. And then you will transition from a planning mindset to an implementation mindset. We've talked about the 7 steps of the joint planning process. You will learn to love this step as you go through your initiative or issue, and we expect that you will be able to, at the open house, describe your capstone project in a manner that's clear and concise and reflects the analysis that you have spent so much time doing. To summarize, that capstone project, it uses this hybrid JPP process to help you solve the issue or problem that you're bringing to the table. And it is that backbone that provides the structure of analysis. These steps will help you evaluate your operational environment, understand your mission, develop and analyze options or courses of action, and make a recommendation based on your analysis to improve your program. And we look forward to you presenting these results to not only us, your U.S. partners, but to your leaders back at your institution and your decision makers. And we also look forward to you leveraging this process to meet future improvement initiatives in your country. So I want to just conclude by a thought from a great strategist. You've seen it summarized in a couple of different ways, but the original quote, "No plan of operation extends with any certainty beyond the first contact with the main hostile force." In other words, your plan will not survive first contact, but that doesn't mean that it's wasted time. We've completed the first introduction to the JPP, part 1. As we walk through the joint planning process, we will give you other presentations. So let me say, you should look forward to implementing the joint planning process. As much as those that know the process enjoy talking about it, you should look forward to talking about it too when you return to your country. Thank you.